There's a strong chance you're not that far off from winning in business and at the game of life. It just takes one idea, but you gotta have unwavering belief and burning desire. If you can couple that with a lockdown strategy that's fueled by heart, hustle, and muscle, you got a shot at winning. There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. All right, welcome back to the GSDX podcast, the Get Shit Done experience. I'm excited today. We've got our CEO, 3 brands, 1 phone call. That's Mr. Tim Ward. That's TTSG, GSD Technologies, and 2020 Design. But our guest today is the legend, Mr. Bryan Bickell, Stanley Cup champion, Blackhawk legend. And I got to tell you, I was driving in this morning, as I told you, and I had some tears in my eyes as I was going through the story. If you're in the Chicagoland area, whether you are a hockey fan or not, the Blackhawks teams between 2010 and 2015 especially just absolutely captivated the attention and the hearts of people who followed hockey, but people like me. I grew up a baseball, football, golf fan. Hockey was not a huge thing, and I became a fan of hockey because of the teams that you were on. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's nice to come on. I know Tim talks about the podcast all the time, so it's nice to finally get in the office and get this shit done.
Let's go. Good to know. Thanks for telling me that. Tim would never say that out loud, so it's good to know that. So as you know, the name of the podcast, the Get Shit Done experience, kind of a mantra of Tim's. Tim, you want to tell a little bit about how that came about? Like, how did that mantra of get shit done become something that you latched onto? And then I want to bring that back to kind of how Bryan lives that out.
Yeah, it was just kind of, when we first started the company, we had quite a bit of copiers going out, and all the IT and the infrastructure that we had to put at the customers' locations. A customer in particular, a very large customer of mine, said that he's like, "You guys are always get shit done." Yeah. He's like, "You got to get an IT company," and so I was like, "Oof, IT." It's like the Me Too, right? So the next thing you know is we had the large customer. We had issues with their current IT team, and then he just asked me to go ahead and start up the company. So it was already pre-late. I mean, you couldn't name it anything else. I mean,
yeah.
It was GSD. As soon as I came back and I said the story, it
just had to be that.
Yeah, the whole company was. They made a conference room of it, the GSD conference room, and then they got the sign. So it was already. I mean, it was pre-late.
There's nothing better than diversification through demand. Right?
Yeah.
So your customer demanded that you start an IT company essentially because you got shit done with the printing company.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
That's amazing. So Bryan, I've played some sports, not to the level in anywhere, shape, or form that you have, but we hear this talk about flow state, and I think in business, it's talked about. I know salespeople get into a flow state. People who present for a living, sometimes you might get into a flow state in communications. Talk a little bit about, as an athlete, what is that flow state, and what is that energy that's kind of flowing through you, and what happens?
Well, it's kind of like branched off what Tim said. Like the GSD. I say it a lot at my house, even just to get the kids going and things like that. And knowing Tim for over a handful of years, like, he's a go-getter. He's a guy that's he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of spunk, and he's got like the energy. He makes me tired sometimes just watching the guy. But in my professional, like, it was you had this fine line. If you're going to be above it or below it, and you have to put the work in, put the hours in, commit, and work hard. And that was the biggest thing I did. There was times when I played, I was like, well, I'm doing the minor leagues. It's 3 cities on a bus and not seeing my family, my friends. I'm like, oh, this is a grind. But then, I just kept my head in the dirt and kept on digging, and it worked out to work hard. And in my life, I like to have fun. Mm-hmm. I like to be calm, cool, and make people smile, and that's what I did, and it worked out pretty good.
There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind, powerful innovation, TTSG.com. So there's a lot of talk online that you were a locker room presence, that you kind of kept everyone calm, cool, collected. You like to have fun. There's a beautiful segment that Jonathan Taves did talking about the impact that you had on the team, especially throughout the playoffs, and just how you kept everyone calm. So where does that come from? Was that how you were brought up? Is that where you fit into your family, you brothers and sisters? Is that kind of how you've always been, or is that just something that you found when you were on the ice?
I just think who I was growing up. I was a very happy kid. I wasn't an angry little shit disturber. I like to have fun, and I still feel like I'm a kid, and I'm almost 40 years old. But say in the locker room, like there's obviously big moments at big times and playoff games and Stanley Cup final games, things like this. You know, you got to pick your time to put a joke out there or just to relax. And it's a nerve-wracking part. Like if people get caught up in the moment and overthink it, where we're just out here playing a game that we've been playing our whole life. We have had a handful of guys that we've had in the locker rooms to kind of keep everybody calm, keep everybody relaxed and loose, and not be, those first couple shifts be tense and then potentially screw up or take a penalty or things like that. And I was a very calm, cool guy on the ice and off the ice. And I think it starts in the locker room and then it carries over to the ice.
So how much of a game is scripted out? I know you guys run plays. I know plays are called, but it's one of those sports that's fluid. All right, you could run a play, but after that, you kind of have to go off of instinct.
Yes.
How much of it is a combination of that?
It depends if it's a face-off or a breakout or a regroup. Like there's certain plays during certain times of the game, but more it's just reaction. Like you got to be quick, and I know when we had Quinville as a coach for the years, like he did the simplest drills for game time moments, and we do it over and over and over again. So that's embedded to you when that time or certain times in the game, like it's just the instinct. But mostly reaction and how you do it. And I think it's a game of inches if you look at it, and like if it's inch here, inch there, things can change, but more just react. It's for me, I was a big physical guy. I was a physical guy, so I didn't touch the puck much. I usually dumped it in, hit somebody and go to the net. And that was my strength, and give the puck to the guys can stick handle and actually
make it dance a little bit.
Yeah.
So championship teams almost inevitably have a championship caliber coach. You don't see a whole lot of teams that win 3 Stanley Cups, right? That have just an okay coach. Mm-hmm. Quinville was clearly a pretty amazing, legendary coach.
Yeah.
What's some of the best advice that he gave you?
Well, he gave me a lot of different kinds of advice over the years, the good and the bad. But
he also didn't seem like he minced words.
Well, early in my career when he was really fired up on the bench, and you could tell all the clips, and he was yelling a lot and things like that at the refs and the plays and things like that. And then over the years, it kind of cooled down. But he was a good guy in the locker room too. Like what you see on the bench, you didn't see that in the locker room. He was a very guy that you can come up to and talk, and I think that players appreciated that. But he just wanted to hold everybody accountable. Like if you have a role, and over different years, roles do change. But he knew how to put a team that everyone played their role and didn't get outside their box. And if you put those pieces together, and which he had a plan, and obviously the plan was really good, and worked over for the 3 years that we won, but very close for the other years. But he knew the recipe to be a winner.
It was a pretty simple plan, though. I mean,
it was very simple.
Yeah, when you go over and you talk about your practices and being at the United Center and everything else, I mean, there's certain things that relate to business as well. Like we don't change the playbook. The playbook in essence hasn't changed in 25 years of me doing this. So like Coach Q comes out and he says, like, give an example of what it looked like that you would go in to do practice. Because as a professional athlete, it's almost
repetition.
Yeah, like, but you almost get upset with it because it's like, are we going to do anything else ever, or are we just going to do the same shit?
How do you fall in love with the boredom of repetition?
It was actually easy. His practice. He emphasized on working hard in the 30 to 25 minutes in practice, and then you can kind of do your own single skill stuff on your own. But if he's running the practice, like it's going to be an intense practice. He always said, rest is a weapon, and the more rest you have and prepare for each game, like you're going to be better. Like there's guys that I've seen better in practice like an hour and a half, and we're all dead. It's just grueling and
well, that's after losses
mentally, and mentally too. But he kept it simple. Like the practices that we have and drills we do, it relates to the ice, and it's repetitive, and you just kind of embedded it in us. And if we worked hard and if we didn't work hard, we definitely heard from it.
So I think go ahead.
I had the advantage because I knew a bunch of players as well, and I also we did some work over at the United Center. So my thing is that I would see some practices or and see that, but like in those years, you were kind of just like, you weren't there for the whole practice, but you saw like you'd be in the corner like doing drills, like getting the puck out and moving it to the front, right? Like you're seeing this type of, and you're like, these are like. For really me watching this, it was like, this is simple. I mean, I played hockey a long time ago and not to this level, but my thing is like you normally are used to drilling for like an hour, or like practice would be like an hour, and you're off there and you're sweating and you're miserable. But then all of a sudden you look at these professional athletes and they're doing the very, very simple elementary drills nonstop.
Yeah. My dad used to say to me, there's a very subtle difference between being in a rut and being in a groove. And that's why the simplicity, like the really simple things you have to master, you have to have mastery of that. Is that why you were, off in the corner focusing on those really simple things repetitively so that it becomes second nature?
Like there's only certain plays that you have to react to, which there's not much time to do like a toe drag or a back pass and things like that. Like that wasn't in my vocabulary of skills. So I kept it simple, and then we did simple things. And obviously power play, penalty kill, like we work on separately with other guys, but it's just he simplified the game in practice, which carried over to the ice. Like it's probably 80 to 90% reaction. Like there's plays that happen that we've practiced and we know where everyone's going to be, but it's more just reacting and making the right call.
Yeah, so it's completely like it's business. I mean, it's just like we practice everything that we do here, TTSG, GSC in 2020, and it's like over the top. Like I am vocal. I do get over the top. I'm animated because I truly believe that the industry has changed. The selling, the slinging of copiers, and the and the IT and the copier companies wanting to be IT companies, and then all of a sudden, then you throw in this marketing. And it's like, I beat the basics. It's just, when you see the B2B, I'm just, everyone's like, oh, that's business to business. I'm like, no, that's back to basics.
Yeah.
Like we are back to basics. And I preach that. And I'm like, oh, make the phone calls, send the invites, get the customers here, do this, do that. But I have friends that are professional athletes. I have friends that are, movie stars and producers and stuff like that, but they all have the same, it's the same. If you look at it, it's really just it's GSD. It's get shit done. You wake up in the morning. The guy doesn't wake up. Every time he spends the night in my house, he's like, oh, he's up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is
he's just getting shit done.
You guys probably set a goal at the very like training camp, right? You said we're winning a Stanley Cup. That's like you have a brand slogan. Everyone gets on board with it. You probably have to sign some sort of sign that we're all in, right?
In blood.
We're all in, baby. Let's go. All for one kind of a thing. And then from there, it's just reverse engineering everything, right? So it's getting back to the basics and working on the very small repetitive things so that your instincts kick in. If you repeat it enough times, then the instincts, it kind of happens. Like you open your mouth in sales, if you know your script and you know your product so well and you know what the end goal is for your customers well enough, then you just kind of open your mouth up because you practice it so many times and the right thing comes out. The right intention.
At some point.
At some point. Sometimes you have to backtrack.
I mean, at some point for certain people, it takes longer than, obviously. But I mean, it's the same thing. It's like I don't know. It's just so similar to being a professional sports to being a professional in sales or in your industry. It just doesn't come overnight. Like we kind of skipped through Bryan in the, the travel and the road to get to the NHL. We kind of just, he simplifies that, but it's like the grueling part of, it's like you're being first 2 years of sales and you're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm here, if I'm getting fired. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I really haven't sold a lot. Nobody really talks to me. I'm at the back of the bus. No one's, my name's not on the TVs or anything else. It's like, ooh, I don't know, mom, dad, how I'm doing. But I might be jobless, right? Like in our industry, it takes a while to set up to get going.
It's a longer sales cycle.
But like with Bryan coming in from, and the land of hockey, he had, how many teams did you play for? How many, for how long were you gone at a time? The road, juniors.
Well, it started at a young age, like I moved away when I was 16 years old. I moved away. I was from a small town, like, maybe 1,000 people.
Orono,
Ontario, from a little town. And then I got drafted to play junior. So then I moved to a bigger city, which was Ottawa, for my first 3 years in junior. So I had to leave home when I was 16, have a billet, live in a big city. I had a great time my first couple of years, just being in that atmosphere, and then we had a good team and a good organization. But that was the first really step to making this as a career. It was a little bit of homesick. I guess I could say I'm a mommy's boy. I miss my mom, but I didn't miss the chores that I had to do at home. But it was nice to make that next step. And then, getting drafted by the Blackhawks in 2004, and then getting the opportunity to be in the American League for a couple of years and kind of getting my foot in the door of being a pro. The juniors is like a stepping stone to make that next step. And playing the minor leagues for, those 3.5 years kind of really adjusted my as a person, as a human, and as an athlete to make that next step and make a good career of 10 years pro.
What's amazing about hockey is you guys are you give up a portion of your childhood to get to the elite level that you did. You're on skates at 2 years old. And once you're discovered that you have a talent, you start getting in all the travel and clubs and all those things, and you're all over the place. And then at 16, you're moving. You're having to become a grown man, and live on your own.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got all these expectations of yourself because you see the talent, you can see it, but you've got all these expectations that others are putting on you. How do you balance that? That's going to be extremely difficult. You already have high expectations for yourself.
Like I didn't feel pressure. As a young age, I was just having fun, and I still had fun till the last day I played. Like that was the biggest thing. I just enjoyed playing hockey. If I wasn't playing hockey, I was playing baseball. If I wasn't playing baseball, I was shooting pucks in my backyard. I just enjoyed the game. I didn't feel like it was a job when I played. There was times when I was a kid where, all my friends are having sleepovers or birthday parties or things like that. I was at a tournament or on the road or practicing and things like that. I didn't, I missed things, but then I didn't really miss things because I was enjoying what I was doing. And it kind of carried over to, playing pro. And then I think we were talking about the locker room like that. I just enjoyed having fun. Like I didn't feel like it was a job. There's times where, it was grueling, but it overlooked like it was pretty fun.
It's almost the road. Almost the trip to get there was the hardest part because, when you really look at it, everybody in that league is trying to get drafted or get bumped up. That's where everyone's taking your head off. It's in the for 3 years you were marked.
Yeah.
And from our discussions and our conversations in the past and just being around him and having people talk to him about other different things, that was almost as hard as that was, if not harder than the NHL for those 3 years.
The American League was, I always called it the jungle. It's like, the juniors are, kids are going to be, developing to the next step, but then the American League is the jungle. Everyone's even on the same team. Obviously, you're working as a team to make a good product, but then we're fighting each other, basically not really fighting each other, but to get that call up, get the attention, get the next time if someone gets hurt to be the call up. So it was tough. Like it was a grind. I didn't think there was going to be that opportunity, but just kind of worked hard and had fun.
Other than putting the stats up, how do you create that attention? Because we talk in business, right? It's about attention and awareness now. There's so much noise. There's so much content creation that's out there. There's so much competition. So you're in the AHL and you've got players that are on your team that are trying to get your spot because there's only so many people that can play NHL, right? So they're trying to get up there as well. So how do you create, other than putting the stats up, how do you create the attention and awareness so that scouts see you and so GMs and assistant GMs and all those people that make up that team see you beyond your stats?
Well, I just think, doing the right things. Like I was always the guy that was first at the rank. I was always one of the guys that was always on time. I hated players or hated people that were never. I always thought if you're 10 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Well, Vince Lombardi.
Yes. So then I was dedicated in that. And then, coaches and managers, even in the team you're playing, like they relate up to, the big club to see how he's doing, how his work ethic is, and how it's translating in the locker room, off the ice, and then on the ice, even just in practices, how hard you work and how you communicate with your teammates and your coaches. And I always, again, had fun, but then when come work, I, put my work in.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see that Bryan is an imposing human being. So I'm just curious, what kind of a fool would want to drop gloves with you?
6'4", 240 pounds.
How big are these monsters that are willing to drop gloves with you?
Well, I've won some fights and I've also lost a lot. So
I didn't watch those clips, just for the record. So
those aren't. Yeah, nobody really sees.
I'm not going to watch those clips and then be like, Bryan, how was your career? Oh man, you spent a lot of time bloody on the ice. What happened?
Well, I was a bigger guy, so I had to protect my players, and like I wasn't a full-time fighter. I was a guy that can kind of
left winger.
Yeah, just play a lot of different moments, power play. I didn't really play the penalty kill too much. Maybe I wasn't the fastest guy, but I had to fight when I had to, and being a bigger guy when I came in the league and in the minors, like it was the fourth line was all tough guys. So me coming in the league, like I had to play fourth line. So I'm like, looking at these big guys, and they're bigger than me, and then been in the league for 10 years that I've fought the heaviest and toughest guys in this league and the league up. It was intimidating. So you had to learn quick. I fought a lot in juniors because I enjoyed fighting. It just it kind of gets you more in the game, the adrenaline, the passion. But most of the time, if I lay somebody out, then someone's coming to fight me, protect their players, and I basically had to do the same thing for my players too.
I think Chicago is the city that falls in love with the fourth line because those teams, the fourth lines from 2010 to 2016 were amazing, and 2009 as well, were amazing.
2009 was a great year.
What a great year!
9 all the way up.
All the way up.
I was at the Calgary overtime game. I can't remember who put the goal in. He wasn't on the 2010 team. But I've never heard 25,000, 30,000 people or whatever at United Center so loud. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the reason I say Chicago loves the fourth line is it's the grit line. And you were always applauded for your grit. Is there a chip on your shoulder? Where does that come? Because you're a calm, cool, collected person. You're a mama's boy, self identified, proclaimed mama's boy, right? So where's the chip come from? Where does that grit come from? Is it the will to win? Is it did somebody treat you bad when you were young and you have something to prove now? What happened, Bryan?
No, it's the roles you put in. Like I played enough on the fourth line, but then you get bumped up to the third or a checking line, or I have had, times where I'm playing with Tays and Kane, so it made my life a lot easier. And, if I had to protect them or make room on the ice for them. But, from the first to the fourth, like if you're not running all four, you're not running, a winning team. There's different roles that you play over the course of the year. And, fourth line, it's fun at times, but it also kind of really sucks because you have to play similar guys and your body, takes a lot more heat and more bumps and bruises. But, it just, I enjoyed the contact, the physicality of the game, in the fourth line and in the first, because, it's nice getting points, but it's nice hearing the crowd react of a big hit or, a fight or things like that. And, everyone talks about goals, but then they always talk about the fights.
Well, the fights are what police. I mean, the fourth line is the police. You're policing the ice, right? You're making sure that nobody gets. Yeah, well, you're making sure that nobody gets liberties on the other guys. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so big guys like Bryan, they draw a lot of attention too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so people that don't understand hockey or don't watch hockey or listen to this podcast because they're listening to Get Shit Done and they don't necessarily watch a lot of hockey, right? People think that we should be getting rid of fighting on the ice and we should be not showing our kids that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Well, number one, we don't show our kids that.
And if you get 10th place, you should get a trophy too, right?
Yeah, but I mean, number one, the kids are all suited up and they've got their helmets on, and it's not like the NHL, and we're not doing that. We're not teaching that to the kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we are teaching is that in order to play the game and that level of the NHL, you have to watch out for your players, and there's some chippiness that goes on the ice. And I mean, if the people that don't understand hockey or watch it, they're like, oh, why did those two? They must not like each other. No, it was probably from 2 or 3 plays earlier that somebody got a stick to the head or a slash, or we're just talking trash talking. But then some of the ones that are like, the ones that are explosive are some of the ones that just happen on the ice, just like that. I mean, because there's times that, and from the conversations that we've had before, there's times that you would have calls before the game and being like, Simmons is going to come after you. He's going to, it's going to be the second period. You better watch out. And then what do you think? That all of a sudden, you hear that a week before the game, you're like, oh shit. You're like, this guy, he's like,
when's it coming?
He's 6'6", 280
There's
pounds.
There's going to be a Mack truck coming.
Yeah, like, oh God, I got to do that again. But then how many games did you play? 86?
82.
82?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we played 90.
They were playing playing more like 110 when he was playing.
But I mean, there's a lot of games, and there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of players on the ice, and there's a lot of enforcers. So you're getting a lot of those calls throughout the season. I mean, talk about some of those.
Yeah, those were then. They don't really have many of those guys anymore.
No.
Like it's the
And
game.
Where's that call coming from? Who's calling
What's
you?
speed today?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, so the enforcers today aren't like the enforcers that they were when Bryan played, like 2000, in the 2000 era. When the 2000 era, you had players that were brought up from
to hit.
AHL just because of their size. Look at Gretzky. Gretzky was never touched.
Yeah, no.
Look at the I call them the goon. Look at the goons that protected him.
Yeah.
Then they wonder. So talk about some of those guys that you were like, oh shit.
Yeah,
we're going up against Philly again.
Yeah, well, it second gets your plays, but you're playing hockey and it is a quick sport and it's a reaction sport. Like I've had times where I've had Getzlaff, and then I have one of my buddies that I played with in juniors, Staubitz. He comes up and he's like, "Hey Bex, we gotta go. You just hit my captain, like you're going." And he's like legit heavyweight, and I'm like, okay, what can I do to not get hit? So then I'm like holding on to the guy. I'm like,
just the stiff arm left.
Just like, okay, he's not hitting me yet. And then I'm like, if I just play this for a bit, I can just take him down. And then we're laying down the ice. Like, good job, Bex. I had to do it just to show my coach, I'm standing up for my, standing up. And then it's a heated moment. There's guys that really hate each other. They fight every game because they just hate each other. I don't know how, or there's a dirty hit or just bad.
How do you create that much hate?
I don't have that much hate. I didn't really hate anybody. There's a couple guys I didn't really like, but I wouldn't fight them because they're just too small and they're just little rats out there. Like a Marchand. Oof, I couldn't. If he was in my weight class, I would try to definitely rip his head off. But
yeah, that guy, he was watching
licking guys.
Yeah, he's just a complete I mean, as fan of hockey and watching players, I mean, we've talked about players before. He's like, yeah, no, we don't even notice them. But then there's players like this that go, that are just trash talking the whole entire time.
Yeah, getting under people's skins.
Yeah, and that's what they were. But I mean, these big guys in the 2000s, and that are coming up have already made a name for themselves. Then they're getting to the NHL. I mean, then they're coming and then they're sending, oh, you won a cup.
Yeah.
2010. Well, we're playing in 2011, 2012. The next one we won the next one Chicago won is 2013. So all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. All right, boom. Now all of a sudden, oh, let's go. And then you're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some of the injuries.
Oh, there's been a lot of injuries over the years, a lot of concussions. But, I think every time we won, I've always I had a surgery afterwards, knees, shoulders, wrists.
That was always amazing to me.
It's,
when the season would end, the press releases that would come out, like
how many people
Bryan played with a broken leg for 6 games in the playoffs, right? Wrist fractures.
Was is that true?
No,
it wasn't a leg.
I had MCLs.
You had an MCL for the whole.
I cut my tendon in my wrist. I had to get sewn back together. Popped a tendon in my thumb. Just things like that, really.
What was the worst one that you played through?
The worst one I played through was my MCL, for sure. I remember I was in, conference finals against LA. I felt the pop. I'm like, oof. I could still get off the ice, but it wasn't very good.
You said
like,
oof?
Yeah, that's what he said. Seriously. He says it all the time.
I would have been like, Ma!
Oh, oof.
He said oof.
And
scored 2 goals.
Yeah, that one didn't sound good.
It felt like I had a pool noodle on my leg. But,
oh my!
So then I was sitting beside Hossa in the locker room. He had 2 knee braces, so we're like, gap or
give me one.
He's like, then we just threw it on, taped it on, and made it work. And I got up and down the ice for the finals and the rest of that conference finals. That was probably the toughest.
Did you have, what was it, MCL or ACL? MCL, both of them.
ACL, you're not.
Yeah, you're not walking. But I'm saying that, and I get them confused. But the MCL. You did 2 of them?
I did 2 different times.
Oh, 2 different times, yeah.
So my knees are
shot.
Or they're weak.
Yeah.
But they're, it's hard to take a shit.
What'd you do to your thumb?
I don't know. I popped the tendon in my thumb. Like there's 2 tendons in your thumb that you can, I don't know. But then I took one out of my finger to put it in my thumb so I can not just give a thumbs up anymore. So.
Swapping body parts to make them whole again. Yeah, you're good. Hey, kid. Get out on the ice.
Bryan, give him 2 thumbs up. He's like, no, I only do 1 now. I only do 1. I do a thumb and a fist.
Yeah.
You're good.
So in business, we talk about when you're hiring somebody, you want to add to a team, you're trying to build a culture, you're trying to build a brand. There's a lot of people say culture fit. I've always believed in culture add. It sounds like professional sports is a lot like that. Like you're not trying to, you can't have a team that's going to win a championship that has all Patrick Kanes.
Right.
Or all Jonathan Taves. You have to have the players that will do the gritty things, that will do the grunt work, that will go in the corner and scrap it out. So business leaders, when you're thinking about building your team, you need to build a bench too. You have to have a full team of people that are willing to do all of the little things within the organization.
Oh, for sure.
It sounds like that's exactly how a championship team is built.
Yeah, obviously Tim could sell a door to a frame. Like he can definitely... he's the.
I haven't heard that one before.
That's a new one.
That's a new one. Write that one down.
Yeah, hold on.
That's a Canadian. He sold a door to a frame.
Holy shit!
Not ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, shit.
None of that.
He went door to frame.
Went door to frame.
Ice to Eskimo was sitting there for him. I mean, it's just teed up.
No, never heard that.
He goes door to frame.
Never heard that. Never heard that. That's Canadian.
What is this? Is this a show for carpenters? What's going on here?
Remember he said earlier he had a couple concussions.
He's a talker.
Simmons here? What?
Yeah.
Door to a frame. Never heard that.
Where was I? What was I talking about?
I don't even know.
No, you need the pieces.
The wheels fell off.
Yeah. We're not cutting that, by the way. So there's no retake.
He comes up with stuff all the time.
It's beautiful.
It's hot here.
Yeah.
What now?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh.
That's good.
What were we even talking about?
We're talking about pieces coming in. Like it's important. Like
culture adds.
Oh, culture adds. Yeah. Teammates.
Door frames.
Teammates.
I've had teammates and people come through different teams, but like I think a big thing is positive. And if you're positive, negative doesn't bring a team, together. Like there's been a couple guys here and there that are like, we'll still work together, but then, if he got a big hit, I'm like, I just let him defend himself.
Yeah.
But,
care to name names?
Now, what do you mean by that? If you got a big hit, for some of the talent,
if the guy got hit, he's not defending the guy because the guy's a negative jerk in the locker room.
Oh, yeah. So you're not going to bat.
Well,
he's going to, but not at the same level of interest.
Yeah, you build brotherhood and like, friendships in there, and it's like, I don't really.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the guys that you brought in then. I mean, you were there. So let's say, you were there in 2010. You played a few games.
Yeah.
And then you played some in the playoff. But let's talk from 2010 to 2000. And what was the last year that you played with the Hawks?
16.
I was going to say 17. 16
and then
was
you went
the last year.
And then you went to Carolina.
Yeah. Where you ended up at Carolina.
Yeah.
And then, so talk about some of the players that, like, there's word going out on the street that someone's getting traded throughout the season, or someone's, all of a sudden they show up, because it's kind of funny. They just show up with their bag and they're like, "Hey, boys."
Well, like usually,
where's my locker? Also, where's the bathroom?
Yeah, where's the bathroom? Are we gonna win this? Did I get traded to the good team, or
It's unfortunate that every championship team, like, there's pieces that are going to be moved out. Like, you just can't keep this team for 10 years and expect a 10-year run. Like, it just doesn't happen with the new NHL, with the cap bearer and things like that.
And I would imagine, even if you're a champion, you're trying to find a way to get another edge.
Yeah, and
the league's going to figure you out.
Well, I think it just with the cap, and obviously players are worth more after champ. Like, everybody wants winners.
Yeah.
This guy's good, and he's gonna, sign in a different place where he couldn't be able to sign for, a couple million less. Like, it just doesn't work. Think people think about, their livelihood after hockey. There's always the life during hockey, which is a very short living, but then, you still have that 50 plus years afterwards. So, from every championship team, there's teams that lose pieces, but then, it's with the team that for drafting, or the teams in the minor leagues. Like, I was in the minor for 3 years to get my opportunity to make that next step. We had great teams leading up to 2010, and we didn't know there's going to be a lot of players moving up. We just had a good core, a couple pieces moving in and out, but then after we won, then it gave an opportunity for the younger guys to develop in the minor leagues, then make that next step. And I was one of them. And over the course of 10, 13, 15, there was pieces coming and going, but mostly in the minor leagues is the biggest thing. Drafting is a big thing. With any team, like, you need to have a good draft class and good players that develop to make that next step.
Yeah, I mean, talk about some of the, like, you've got to be excited to play with some players too. I mean, you've seen them on the ice, you've seen them do their thing. You're like, hey, that guy would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
okay, let's talk about Hossa. Right?
I mean,
let's talk about the guys that came in. Let's talk about Shaw that came in. Let's talk about Hossa. Let's talk about who are some of the other
Duncan Keith, Seabrook.
What about Bufflin?
Big
Big Buff is.
Cow.
I mean, yeah.
Who wants to fight that guy too? Like, what the hell is wrong?
But think about some of those things that you've already had the team, you've already won. You're like, there's restructuring going to go on, but then all of a sudden you're like, you hear wind that, like, you might have a Hossa, or you might have big, like, Bufflin coming in. Like, name one that you were excited about getting. Like, you heard, like, oh, so one of the boys called you up and said, hey, do you think he's going to get with us, right?
Well, we didn't really have a lot of big pieces. Like, Hossa and Sharp came before my time coming up.
Yeah.
There was the Taves, the Kane, the Seabrook. Like, we have had all the core guys came in, and we just had Hossa. He was, looking to win. He went to back years to win a cup. Like, he was, in the later half of his career, he wanted to win. So then he came, Sharp came, and then we just had, role players to kind of piece in. I was happy to play with really anybody as long as I was playing and I was not getting healthy, sitting up in the press box. But we had an elite team, and it's gonna be tough to beat. The Tampa had a good run, and there's a couple other teams that have had a good push. But those memories that I had for those three wins and those 6 years I was with the Blackhawks was you never take away.
Yeah. Was there one guy that came to the team that you're like, this is a pretty cool guy? Did you make a good friend?
Yeah. Well,
did you have, was there something that the boys talked to, at a dinner and said, do you think we're going to get so-and-so? And then all of a sudden he shows up.
Well, no.
No?
I think everybody was in the team that was, there. We had like Brad Richards came in for a year, one in I think 15, I think it was. Timo Timonen, he came from Philly. He was looking for the win. He was just a great dude, a legend in the sport. But there was not really anybody. Like
You guys had all the big players already on the team.
we had all the big pieces. Yeah, we're just looking to fill ins. Shaw came in late. And he came in 13.
That was an all right ad.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite players of all time.
And he was just a guy for a little guy, big heart. He only weighed like 150 pounds.
Good soccer player with the heading.
Oh my God.
With all the gear on.
Biting ankles. I mean, he would do whatever it took.
Yes.
The best. I was at the.
He could have been a Navy SEAL if he didn't play hockey. He's that kind of guy.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not
A little small.
Well, well, the Navy SEALs are not huge dudes. They're just they're.
But he's a great.
They never give up.
Yeah, Shaw is a gritty guy too, right?
Yeah, for a little dude.
For a little dude, I mean, he packs a big hit.
Yeah, and he can throw the knuckles pretty good for a little guy.
Yeah.
So people who get to an elite level in anything, I think, have somebody that they emulate or they're trying to emulate. They have mentors. And by the way, if you're listening to this, if you don't have a mentor, find one. Mm-hmm. I think it's extremely important to have somebody that you are chasing and that is giving you, positive feedback and accountability, right? Real accountability. So just walk us through some of the people in your life, beyond your parents, who I'm sure played a huge role, but some of the people in your hockey life that you looked at and you said, I want to emulate my game after that, or man, I really like their core values or their principles, how they approach the game. Who are some of those people?
Well, I grew up outside Toronto, so I was a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I was a big Wendell Clark fan. Like I wore his number all the way up to when I made that NHL. He was the guy that I liked. He was the captain. He would fight. He would score. He would do whatever it takes to win. And he wasn't a very big guy. He was maybe 5'10", 5'11", but his type of hockey was what I wanted to be. And I wasn't the biggest guy growing up, and I played the same way. And I wasn't the skilled, but the way he played it, I wanted to be like that. So Wendell Clark was my idol growing up. But for other people, obviously my parents, to give me the opportunity to do what I did. But then even my wife, I met my wife when I was 16 years old. So
really?
My first year away home, I met her. So we've been together for 22 years, but she's been definitely, the rock and the push and the never give up of, moments where I'm like, I wouldn't mind doing a 9 to 5 and getting my weekends. Like I didn't have a weekend for 15, 16 years. It was more, here and there, a day on a Tuesday, we get a day off. But, man, my wife was definitely a big supportive in my career.
IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure, your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. So having trouble keeping the puck on the stick, dumping it in, chasing it, just can't seem to get it, right? Missing checks. Things just aren't playing out. Game's over. Who are you calling? Who do you call to say, hey man, I need a word of encouragement here. like you're not in the locker room with me. You're not on the team. Like, who are you calling to go, Bryan, there's more to life. It's going to be okay.
I don't think I've really had anybody to call. Like my dad called a lot, which like after games, like I didn't call him. He called me a lot. But he would watch it because he was mostly sleeping half the times when I was playing. I was playing Central, then, up in, California time. So, he was sleeping, watching the next day. But, the wife was always there. She always watched the game. She was really passionate about it. But, it's, you need to have a short memory. Even with the good memories, you need to move on to the next one, because if you hold on the bad and the good, obviously the good is good to hold on, but then the next game could be totally different. You need to have a short memory in the game to be successful.
And that's kind of like what we do, TTSG and GSD. It's like some of these sales reps and some of these, they'll be like, oh, I didn't get that deal, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. And you're kind of just like, listen, you got to have a short memory. You can't just you can't continue to think about the one that you lost. You've got 15 other deals that you're working. If you get stuck on a game, right? And all of a sudden now you're down. Now the next game shows that you're playing with that emotion instead of the other emotion that you have. So it's like, that's a good point. It's like in business, you got to talk to somebody else that's not a part of the team as well. Mm-hmm. And like for me, that was my dad. Like I would, I'm who I am here in the building. And then my dad calls me. It's so funny. My dad will call me and be like, hey, not the door comment to a jam or whatever the hell that was.
Door to frame.
Door to frame or whatever that was. But he'd be like, you closing anything? Like, do you sell anything? So it was a conversation that him and I,
and he's just a different
my dad and Bryan get along very well. We were at the, he's got great stories from my dad, and he's only known him for a short time.
That's great.
But, it's Amanda probably played a huge role in that, like your calls to her and how she was so intricately involved in everything. Number one, she's known you forever, right? She knew you since 16. She's gone through all of the bad and all of the good. She stayed through the bad, and she wants more good, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, he's 3 years in the AHL is a long time to play.
Yeah.
I mean,
to be in the jungle.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's your head's going to get knocked off, and there's games, and then he's not home for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then the kid, then talk about. I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, his family is amazing and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, but you're away from your kids and you're doing this and you're doing that. I mean, sales and owning a business and stuff like that. We're not traveling like that, like business owners and salespeople don't have to do that as a profession. I mean, if you choose, if you're choosing a professional sport, there's home games and there's away games.
Yeah, just half the game.
Half the games are gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, you bring up something valid. It's like, who do you call? It's like you call somebody that's not a part of the team and you call somebody that doesn't have, and I think that
they don't care what the result was.
Yeah, because they're still either going to love you or they're going to be your friend or they're going to do this.
Yeah.
But Amanda's definitely on the top of that list.
Yeah, she's up there.
Tim, you shocked me about 2 or 3 weeks into my career here. I had a hire that fell through. Mm-hmm. I was so excited about the hire. Mm-hmm. And I was almost embarrassed to approach you as the coach.
Oh, right? Yeah?
Like I felt like a player who had an open net, just completely missed it, right? And you said something that was shocking. And I think it's really important. This is an important thing because I think as a leader or a coach, I think it's important sometimes to do the opposite of what the player might expect. My expectation was that you were going to be like, what the hell's wrong with, like, how did you screw that up?
Yeah.
And in fact, and this will resonate with me for a long time, you said it wasn't meant to be. That person was not supposed to be here for this moment at this time. Yeah. You have to have a short memory, move on to the next one, find the one that is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And that settled me, right? How often were you getting that type of feedback from a Quenneville or from one of the position coaches on the team where you were like, damn, I just screwed this up bad? And they came with you with the opposite narrative.
Well, a lot of times, like there's video and clips that they bring to you in good and bad, mostly bad because they want you to fix it.
Mm-hmm. They're not bringing you the good ones.
Yeah, well, they here's your highlight reel.
They do, but they want you to fix the problem.
Yeah,
right. And with it being such a fast sport and the reaction, you have to be quick. Like it's like that's why Quenneville's a basic guy. His practices are basic because it's a lot of more basics than you really think. In that part of my game that I had to make sure if I got the puck out, it didn't go in the back of the net. Make it check that the guy missed a pass. Like certain little things that look at video to make yourself better. It just was a second instinct for me.
So yeah, I mean, we're always trying I mean, I think in life, what we try to do is we always try to make ourselves better. At least I do. You know, we're coming off a big week from the Kevin White event, you know, and the charity stuff that we do and the all the different charities that we help out. But I mean, this past golf event for the Kevin White Foundation was a huge success again. And, you know, it's the second annual. It's, you know, we're just trying to do the right stuff. You have these things that you want to replicate and you want to continue. And, you know, it's like, I wish we would have a video. I wish there'd be people that be like, hey,
you're on it right now. Tim.
Yeah. Well, you kind of just go like this. You kind of look back and you're like, you know, did it happen this way?
Yeah.
Like, cause your memory, like you're always good for a story, right? You tell a story and you're like, yeah, you know, does it happen? Like in my mind, it happened that way.
You're always good for a friend to tell you it didn't happen that way too.
Yeah. You're like, it didn't really look as sweet as you thought it did, you know? So it's like all of a sudden, you know, you kind of you want that replay in life, right? So it's like that you just try to continuously do the things that are good, and you know, and then the coaches, like you said, they come up and tell you, and they go over the things that weren't so good, right? So it's like being that coach for people in the office, and you know, for what we do for, you know, TTSG and GSD, it's like those are the things I try to do.
Yeah,
you know, like, hey, like, don't worry about it. It wasn't
move
meant to be.
next
yeah, like
one.
move forward.
Next.
Yeah, next.
Next.
You know how many more we're gonna have?
Yeah.
Like how many more times we're not
Find
gonna
the next one.
Yeah, go. I mean, do this, do that. I mean, so it's pretty crazy.
So
that
speaking of finding the next one, 2013, you found a lot of next ones. 9 goals, 8 assists over 23 games in the playoff. Scored a crucial goal in Game 6 Stanley Cup final against the Boston Bruins. Nobody likes the Bruins, myself included, so that was really awesome. But you also found probably your best accomplishment in life, your beautiful wife, Amanda. So 2013, you were in a flow state, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a great year.
It was a good year. It was a weird year too. I remember it was a lockout year. So we had 3 months at the start of the year where we didn't play hockey. So it was like I was working, engaged, getting married, working on a new contract, went over to Czech Republic for 3 months to, you know, keep my game fresh and get ready for when the season started. Then we had a, you know, outstanding year as a team. Had some hiccups during playoffs. We were down 3-1 against Detroit. We came back and won that series in Game 7 in OT.
One of the greatest comebacks of all time.
At the United Center.
At the United Center, Seabrook scored the goal, and that pushed us to
I was at that game.
LA in the conference finals, and then obviously the Boston stuff. So that was the year I blew my MCL in LA, and then, you know, I got bumped down a couple lines because I'm like, he's not as quick, he's slow to react. But then, you know, late in that series, I got bunked up with Taze and Kane, and I scored that Game 6 game tying goal with whatever time.
Which one?
The tying goal.
Oh, the equalizer.
The equalizer. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody remembers that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have won. So.
Yeah. How many times we've gone and people are like, "Oh yeah, that was Bickell. Yeah, that's right." Yeah. You know,
so
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen without that. It's funny.
Yeah, and that year was tough
because Kane scored the one to win. Yeah,
no, Bolin. Dave Bolin did.
Yeah.
He dropped his gloves and thought it was a yard sale.
The biggest celebration I've ever seen. Yeah.
He was like, "What do I need these for?
Yeah.
What do I need my stick for?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're done." There was like a minute left.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that year was a very interesting year, and it was a shortened summer too because the lockout pushed the season back farther. So we only had like legit 2 months. But then I'm getting married. Went on a 2-week cruise with the wife. I had MCL, so I had to let my knee heal. Like it was a big carry on of a lot of work, and the next year was a little slower to get going, obviously with the injuries and the celebrations and things like that. But you know, it definitely kickstarted my career in a good way.
So obviously, premise here is how people get shit done. A lot of people work on 3 pillars. I have 3 pillars that I've used for years, whether it was in leadership or sales or whatever. It's mindset, behavior, technique. I feel like I got to start everything with the right mindset. And behavior is that repetition, right? Creating positive habits, continuously doing them. So it becomes mastery, which then you get into technique. So that's been my 3 pillars. Do you have something similar, a mantra, something you live by? If you were going to get a tattoo, that would be your tattoo, right? Like, what are your 3 pillars of how you would correlate your ability to get shit done back to?
Well, growing up with my dad in my family, he was very well, he had a tough childhood. He was the only boy in the family. He lost his dad when he was like 12 years old, so he was the man of the house. So he embedded me work ethic, the amount of work, the passion behind it. I think that was a big part of me overcoming things and getting through my career, and then really just never giving up. I think the 2 things: work hard, never giving up, and then I always say having fun. I tell kids all the time to every day make it fun. If it's hard, try to make it fun. Try to make a joke or make it loose. Those 3 things I think I've still lived by, and maybe not the working part because I don't really work much anymore. Maybe just making lunches and cleaning up the house, but having fun is a big part.
Well, that's going to be a badass tattoo. So, Tim, what say you? What are your 3 pillars or 2 pillars? What are your things that you stand by? And we already know get shit done.
Yeah, it's just
right?
hard work, dedication, perseverance.
Yeah. So there's no magic bullet, right? Like I think that's the thing that if there was anyone who was 18, 19, 20 that's listening to this podcast, like there's no easy way.
No,
right?
life's not easy.
Even if you're having fun, it should still be hard work. Like you should be working hard. You should be, and again, you went back to, and Tim, you alluded to this as well. Like you should always be analyzing your weaknesses and trying to find a way to maximize your strengths. Mm-hmm. And that means that you have to have self-awareness and you have to be real and you got to look in the mirror and go, man, I'm weak here.
Those are the hard times.
Yeah.
Those are the times that suck, that you have to be like, yeah, I really, I have the whole thing of 51%. I just want to win 51% of the time, because then you're a winner, right? So you win 51% of the time. You're like, in business, you make hundreds of decisions a day. Let's just say you make 100 decisions a day. You go home and you got the wife, the kid, and everything. They come up to you and you're like, oh, how's the day? And at 51%, when you make 51 good decisions, the day's pretty good. You come home, the kids are smiling. You got the wife that's going, you're making dinner and everything else. 50-50. It's still a good day. Like, don't get me wrong. You made 50 good decisions. You also made 50 bad decisions.
There are ties in hockey.
Yeah, there's, not really, but yeah. But then all of a sudden you have the days, or that you try not to string together, that you make 49, good one and 51 bad ones. Those are the ones that hurt, And so it's like the hard work, dedication, and perseverance. It's like you've got to get through these to continue on to move to the next day, and you got to have a short memory.
So what do you do when we go golfing? What do you think? What, 51%?
No, 51's what he shot on the front nine.
Hey, listen, it's already not a good decision.
Yeah,
that's it. So
yeah. 51 front, 49 back.
Mute his mic right now, because we played golf yesterday. Yeah. I was down a lot.
Uh-oh.
I came back.
Why do you continue to bet?
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
I gamble to come back
to create a little bit of.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, you play for $1. Last time we played for $5. I mean,
there you go.
It's just a swing, a $5, a shot.
Swing.
No. But I mean, it's just back and forth. I mean, it's just, I'm a competitive person. I'm I think that's why we get along fairly well, is just because I'm competitive.
Yeah, I don't show my competitive, but I beat him a lot. So.
I have no problem with that. He's a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
here's the type of golfer he is. Are you ready? Yeah. He's naturally left-handed. Okay, so I'm right-handed. So we get out to the course. This is when we first this is like 6 years ago. We first meet each other. Come on over, come to Canada, play in my Bryan Bickell golf event. Right. So I bring 3 buddies over there. We have a hoot. Right. Awesome. Come back. He's like, yeah, I'll come over. Comes over. I don't have my clubs. So I'm like, oh yeah, we're just, I'll get you a set of clubs. And I forgot that he's left-handed. So we get the clubs, put them in the cart. He gets to the first tee. I think this is an event, isn't it? Like an event, like whatever. We get shotgunned out there, right? So we're at some hole halfway across the golf course, right? He's like, hey, Tim, you got me right-handed clubs. I'm like, yeah. He swings the club with a right-handed club.
Yeah.
upside down, left-handed, and shoots an 86.
No, I didn't shoot it. I remember that. I shot.
You shot an 86.
I shot for 3 holes, and
then somebody else. Yeah, so somebody did come and get it, but you shot an 80. You shot an 86. But for 3 holes, he played with right-handed clubs, left-handed, upside down, and hit at the ball back.
Now, did you play hockey left-handed?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know a lot of guys are righty, but they shoot lefty.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like my dad. He's like, he plays everything right, but then he plays hockey left, golf right. I'm like, you're weird.
Yeah. Make up your mind, man.
just do everything one way.
He doesn't, no hands when he eats. He just stuffs his face on the plate.
Yeah.
He just one way. That's
one
it.
Way.
That's it.
Just go with
Just do it one way.
I didn't understand this method, but I was just always left. I'm right-handed, but I throw right-handed, but I golf.
He's golf's left-handed.
Everything left-handed.
So there's not too many left-handed golf, right?
No. Less thinking, just left.
Yes, but there's not too many good golf. There's not too many people that golf lefty.
No,
I mean, right?
Bill Mickelson is about what I can.
Mike Weir,
recall.
that's Canadian.
Mike Weir, yeah.
No, he only knows him because he's Canadian. That's it. Yeah.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Ryder Cup captain this year, President's Club captain.
Yeah, but then you got a left-handed player, right? And then all of a sudden, there's not too many left-handed rentals.
No, you're not going to make a lot of money on that.
Yeah, or you're not going to go to a country club and get left-handed clubs that are worth anything, right?
Yeah.
So what did you play yesterday with? You played left-handed clubs from Walmart?
Yeah, they felt like they were from Walmart.
I still lost.
Yeah.
I adapted.
These Kirklands are terrible.
No, it's been fun to be in the presence of an athlete when you're playing a sport, because everything's very competitive. I mean, we're competitive on stupid shit that we do, So it's funny when you're out there and you look over, you're like $5, yeah, $5, because you hit the ball similar in distance or whatever, and then you're just trying to get closest to the pin or whatnot.
So you just go with that, whatever you got, you just go with it. And that kind of brings me to this point. So right now, Bryan, you have an absolutely beautiful smile. There was a point in your career where that smile was not so beautiful. I believe that you were blocking a puck. You decided to chew on it.
Do we have a video of this? Are you prepared?
We
like
edit
click
the video
button and be like, and then here's your face.
I wasn't sure if he was going to be like, listen, asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
here's the
deal.
Leave
Leave that out of here. I said don't go there, right? But you decided.
Let me tell you.
This is where we go to, right? This is back to the flow, right? You know where you are in a team. You know you're playing to win. You know the impact that you have on your teammates, how they love you, you love them, and you're in the game, something you've done your whole life, and you just know what's right, right? So what was right at that moment was for you to lay out your body and block a 106-mile-an-hour slap shot. Unfortunately, it caught you right in the teeth.
I lost them in a lot of different ways, actually, over the years. The first time was from a puck. It wasn't 106 mile an hour. That was like a record shot.
Sendona Chara?
Yeah. No, but it was from a puck. And then over the years, that just kind of kept on more and more, and my teeth started knocking out. One time, actually, a referee was waving the puck, so it was on the blue line. The face-off was there. The puck went over the blue line, then back over. Then the ref waved, it's good, and did the old safe, and then he clotheslined me right in the mouth and knocked out more of my teeth. And then just over the years, I didn't have him in when I played. Then 2013,
even the refs didn't like him.
Yeah,
like, look at this guy.
2013, the wife's like, hey, we're getting married, so can we get you some teeth? And then I've now retired, so I got some fresh whiter ones. The wife's like, let's go white because I've drank too much coffee or wine or something like that. So.
Well, it's working. I mean, there's probably 3 things that if I was a parent in Canada and I was saying to my child, like, here's your career path that you should go towards, it would be hockey player, agent, dentist.
Yeah.
Those would be
3 successful.
Or door frame maker. Now, apparently, it would be the 4th role that we would go with.
Yeah, I still don't understand how the NHL doesn't have a dental plan after hockey.
Oh, my God.
Like, we're the most teeth.
Because they don't want to be bankrupt.
Yeah, basically.
They're liable for a lifetime of teeth.
Like, really? Another bill from Bickell? What is going on here? How many teeth does the guy have? This is my 8th set.
But isn't it true that you guys, like, at the end of the year, you guys go and you get your teeth fixed and everything else?
When you play, but then...
Yeah, but those are just temporary.
Fixes, but then, your body starts falling apart later in life because of hockey. And then, with the PA, we have, they reimburse a lot of stuff. So we put a lot of crucial time on our body and a lot of wear and tear where, to make a good product. And
Didn't Duncan Keith lose the most amount of teeth that you've ever seen?
he lost 8 in one
shift.
one bang.
I think he was out for how many? He was out for two shifts.
Yeah.
And came back.
And then came back.
Yeah.
He dove in front of the puck in, I can't remember, was it a playoff game?
It was a playoff game.
Yeah.
He didn't really dive. With defense, they always like try to get stick on puck because Quinville's like stick on puck.
But he was leaning, right?
He was leaning, and then it just went off
the puck.
Right. He literally ate the puck. When you watch the replay, you can see
he
him
was sitting there. And he's like,
he just
Yeah.
and then just to lose that many teeth in one thing.
Amazing though, the guy can whistle like a great,
every word.
Great whistle. Yeah,
it was. I think that he had didn't he have the Duncan Keith relief?
Yeah,
and they had a picture of like when we were there. They had a picture on the wall that I hadn't seen before, and he's the nicest guy in the world, like totally calm, cool, chill, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, that really hurt.
Oh God.
He's like, that one got me. And like, you can see, this was like a close up of his face. And you're like, oh,
well, the ice girls were
bad.
coming out and picking his teeth up.
Teeth, the blood, and
the blood. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, there's a lot.
Oof.
So these are the sacrifices that you make.
The sacrifices, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other sacrifices, and I mean, we kind of talked on it a little bit, is being away from home.
Yeah.
Like, so you have 2 beautiful girls, you get married, 2013. All of a sudden, the next thing you know, you win the Stanley Cup. So that's the second one that you're a part of, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was better, the first one or the second one?
Wow, the first one was.
I mean, you were there for a cup of coffee,
I was there for a cup of coffee in 2010, but the 13 one was
that had to be
because it was a short year. It was a weird year, but then with my year that I had during playoffs, mostly like
you were instrumental.
I was more of a playoff guy because I couldn't sustain my body through 82 games if I played that way. Like I would be just.
You went all out on.
But you knew season. Sure as hell you could do it for 20 if you needed it.
Is there a way to bring up the 17-second clip? I mean, he's gone through it, hit 400 times. And actually, last week, Amanda sent me a Snapchat that said it's in the, where is it at? It's at the
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Ontario Hall of Fame clip.
The Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's in Toronto.
In Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah, the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto.
Next time you come, we'll come.
I've been there numerous times, never once got an invite to go to the...
Yeah, well, you're like a cup of coffee. You just come in.
Yeah, I do.
So they pull a goalie.
Yeah, then I went for a hot lap over here for some reason. And I'm like, oh, there's Jesus. I better go to the net. So then, right time, right spot.
So hit pause right there.
The big celebration. The teeth.
Yeah, that was a good one. So go back. Right? So you go and you watch this, and all of a sudden you're like, it's all about how many, just start it over, hit pause. Because you're horrible. We're going to have to get this going. Okay. So my thing is that you play so many games. You've been in this situation before. You've been down. You're down 2 goals. It's 3-1, right?
2-1.
It's 2-1, right? So it's 2-1. And next thing you know, I mean, you're in Boston, right? This is for them to win. For them to win.
Not from them to win. No. So this is, if we lost this game, we went into game 7.
Yeah, went into game 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we were sitting on the bench with the minute and whatever it was.
But
left.
It's game 7 there. Well, in Boston.
This is really like their game 7. Like this is do or die. If they lose, they're done. So this is game 6.
Yeah.
We're up 3-2 in the series with the minute and 56 left or whatever it was.
So we could have come back to game. So what Brian's saying is we could have came back to game 7.
We could have came back to game 7
and still won it.
And still won.
Yeah.
But then we're sitting on the bench. We're like, okay, we could go to game 7. Our home record was really, really good in playoffs.
So you're literally having this conversation.
Well, thinking in your head.
You're thinking
on
it.
the
Okay.
bench. You're like, okay.
You don't say that. You don't.
Shit. I was going to say like.
Well, you do. You do think about it. And because our home record was really good, the fans were great, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But then, I score this goal. Then I'm like, okay, we get to the bench. Like, okay, we got a minute and 17 seconds left or whatever it was. We're going to go into overtime. So we're like, all right, let's get ready for overtime. We get an opportunity to win the cup in overtime.
But this goal, you're finding yourself, if you start it over and you go and you find yourself like, you're like, oh, I'm doing a lap over here, right?
Boom.
because you want to be where the puck is. So start the whole thing over and
Oh
watch
my
it
God.
develop.
What is I wish in your head, like we could take your head at that very moment and put the thought on microphone. Because I saw some fantastic words come out of your mouth right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of F. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well, thanks to Dunks for pitching because we're down, but I don't know really
Look at
what I
Johnny.
was doing, but I was in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah.
Through Char's legs, through
Wow.
Grass legs.
Couldn't have been
Then I
any
was
better.
like-
Literally couldn't have been any better. Were you going 5?
I was just trying to hit it.
5-hole.
Were you just trying to hit it?
Trying to hit the puck.
In those moments, I mean, you guys are practicing so often to put it in different places, but in that moment, right, it's just get stick on it.
Well, like I knew it was coming this way because Char is 6'8", and like I knew it was coming. Like I didn't see the puck till the last like second and a half because it was coming from Taves.
You're looking
through
for a
Char.
shot.
Then it comes to Char's legs, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hit it, hopefully the best. And then obviously it went in, so it was gonna go. And then buddy my ball, and we played younger days together, and then he scored. So it was kind of funny that we used to play when we were 12 to now together, and then he got the game winner. So
Where did you play with him at?
in Toronto.
In Toronto?
Yeah.
So the puck goes back on the other side.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden here comes back down onto your side. Shot on net.
Yeah, crazy tip post.
Oh my gosh.
Yard
there it is.
sale.
Stay bowling. There's a minute
love
left,
that.
Dave.
I love it. He drops everything.
So you can see the guy in the background. He's like, "What just happened? We were about to win." Legit 17 seconds. Now they got to call a timeout. They got to pull their
That-
goalie.
Bruce Boudreaux.
Yes. So
Yeah, play it back from the beginning. Not from the beginning, but from the beginning of the second goal.
it's funny because like it's legit. Probably within
You're from-
me scoring with
There he is.
Yeah.
dropping the puck. Like it's probably a minute they're winning,
And then
now
down.
they're losing.
Boom.
And then
Yeah.
they call a timeout. They pull the goalie.
You can see it develop.
Yeah. So it's crazy. I think the Boston players were shocked too. They're thinking.
Look at them. They're so.
Try to find that guy. Try to pause it.
Right
Ready?
Right there.
Oh, yeah. I did. It ruined his. It sucks
No, that
to
guy.
lose.
He did not go to work the next day. Guaranteed. He called in.
that's the worst.
Yeah.
He called in.
No bueno.
The tickets aren't cheap, right? You want to see your team win.
Yeah.
And then in 17 seconds, your team lets up 2 goals
Oh,
and you got to drive home.
heartbreaking.
Now they're like,
Tim, that's literally they wrote their first name on the contract.
Yeah. And then they're like, let's check this out.
I need 10 references
Yeah.
in my industry.
Yeah. Let's, the yard sale. I love it.
yeah.
He just-
Again, that.
did he ever tell you why he dropped everything he owned?
Well, he got slashed.
Yeah, right
So
there.
then
yeah,
he can't
that
get
hurt.
out. He's like, let go, and then he just
Okay.
this. But then with them coming out the next shift, which is our fourth line, that was our fourth line. Like Quinville was like, okay, we're gonna put our fourth line, which is a checking line, maybe give her opportunity to get to the overtime. But then Boston just didn't. They came up flat. So then they're like, they had opportunity. It wasn't a pretty goal, but they got the goal to win the cup, and that was our fourth liner getting her done.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Something you can watch over and over again. You're like, how does it, everything had to go perfect,
yeah,
right? It's one of those things that like, oh my God, I did it.
Like if
just
it
crazy.
if it didn't hit the post.
Do you watch it and are you like, God, that happened?
Usually every year it pops up in the
Yeah.
feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People start
Does the hair on your arm still stand up a little
year
bit?
ago. Yeah, it still does. Like it brings back the good times. Like it was definitely a highlight of my career. And then you watch these videos and like, God, that's the end. That's the end of my career. It's like, oh, it's pretty sad.
Yeah. And John just has had it on loop.
Yeah.
You've been sad the whole time because
Yeah.
it's just the end of his career has just been 2,000 times during
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gone through.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, way to-
everyone in this room has faced adversity on different levels, and I think that with the right mindset, adversity makes you stronger. At the same time, I think that in 2016 you were diagnosed with MS.
17.
17.
Yeah.
And when you have an amazing career like you did, obviously you want to choose to have your career end the way that it did.
Mhm.
But in this case, there was a different story for you.
It was different for sure. Like obviously you could see the highlights of 13, 15, and then right after 15, things were it was going up. It was going great.
Well, you thought you had vertigo. I heard.
Said vertigo or something to do with my ears and my eyes and things like that. We get tested that way. I was doing eye tests all the time to get things lined up, but then you're thinking I was in 28, 30 years old. I think it was 28. And then, that's usually your peak of your career. Maybe you have a good 5 years left. But then my career was it was dropping quite a bit.
Yeah.
Get traded to Carolina. I'm like, okay, this is a cool opportunity to start fresh with the young team, new city. And then within, 7 games, I was morning skating Jersey. And then I felt some pain in my shoulder the month before. It would come and go. Didn't really think about it. And then I went to my leg. So then I was like, well, I can't stop on my right leg now. I'm like, this is not normal. So I pulled myself off. They thought it was vertigo with my eyes. And then we got back to Raleigh, and they're like, was very thankful that we had some good doctors with Duke.
In Raleigh? Duke?
Yep. And
Duke University?
But then they like, you have MS. I was like, well, I don't know what MS is, or I didn't know anybody that had it or anything like that. So then, there's lesions in my brain, my spine make me, signals. Like if I was writing a sentence and it would kick in, it would be like I was in kindergarten. Like we just like
trail off.
Yeah. So, it was nice to see it wasn't me as a hockey player that was not very.
You weren't losing a step as a player.
There was something was kind of interrupting, and it was a tough year of only playing a little bit, then taking off 5 or 6 months to get everything like dialed back in. And then, finished off in Carolina, played the last 4 games, had 2 young kids they still have them, but they're 3 and 1. But to enjoy them grow up is a cool moment too. And, I had a short career, but it was a fun career, and I had a lot of ups and downs, but, now they're 8 and 10. So watching them grow up is, something that I always have too.
You had a lot packed into the short career that you had. I mean, some people have played their entire lives in the NHL and having accumulated all of the games that you've had, or the records, or the
never won a playoff game.
Yeah. I mean, there's people and players that are still playing for that, right? Like we didn't want. I don't know if you wanted Florida to win this past one, but I would have liked to have seen.
Well, a Canadian
team
that would have been nice.
They haven't won since what, 19? Yeah,
it's been 32 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I got to tell you, as a Cubs fan, like, sorry, Canada.
If we're used to that.
If you need therapy, call me. I got all of I got a journal of therapy. So I don't bring this up in any way, shape, or form because I think that it's something that like wears on you. I think that you've taken what's in front of you and you've dealt with it, right? And you're continuing to do great things.
Yep.
So now you decide with Amanda that you're going to start the Bryan and Amanda Bickell Foundation. Let's talk a little bit about this. Why pit bulls? Why rescue pit bulls? How big is the heart in your chest? What's going on?
Yeah, so me and my wife, we met when we were 16. We got our first pitty in Ontario, which we were probably 18, 19 years old. We had it for 16 years, so that's a big chunk of our life.
Is that Bella?
That was not Bella. That was Bailey.
I'm sorry, Bailey. Yeah.
But then, we had her. She was amazing. She was a good dog. And then the ban happened in Ontario, where you can't have these dogs unless you have them before the ban. So then, whatever, we were allowed to have our dog. It was a great dog. Then we get to Chicago, and then saw all the kennels and all the spotlight in the news was bad. It's not the dog that's bad. It's the owner.
It's the owners.
And then, for us, we started the Bickell, the Bryan and Amanda Bickell Foundation in Chicago too. We give free spay and neuters and different areas to take these breedings and take these population of this dog to slow down and take them more of a kennels. And we get rescue dogs, and we have a calendar every year. We adopt dogs and we do therapy dogs. We work with the HESPA houses for abused kids in the South Side, and we get these dogs from a bad situation, therapy. They're what's that word I can't even say it?
Give them therapy.
Therapy.
Yeah, just give them therapy.
Give them therapy.
Just think door frames.
Yeah.
And then we bring the kids and the dog together, and they kind of relate because these kids are scared of people because of the abuse they've been through.
had.
And then they do just simple obedience and training like that, and they kind of open up. And I know the dog owners that bring them there, they enjoy every moment and see these kids open up because they're, sheltered because they're scared. So we do that in Chicago area, but then now with Canada and Ontario, it's still banned. So now with this MS stuff that, it obviously happens, I'm just, rolling with the punches that the cards are dealt. We're making a retreat. So we bought a property up north of my house. It's on a lake, and I'm a big, not an outdoors guy, but I like to be on the lake. I'm a big fisherman, like to shut off and just not hear anything and just want to be by myself. Not by myself.
That's
but
very
with family.
unique for a Canadian to be a
fisherman,
a fisherman,
a hockey
outdoor-
player,
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and an outdoorsman, which
like,
is a fisherman.
It's like you're
Yeah.
from Bermuda. I don't
yeah. I don't even know who you are.
So-
really?
So yeah, we're gonna make a MS retreat. So there's two types of MS. There's the relapsing where I have, where it's pretty stable, but then there's the progressive where it's a matter of time. Their life will be taken, or their ability to walk or see and things like that. So we want to give families that don't have the opportunity to enjoy a weekend, a week, or moments with their family and their son or daughter or husband, on our foundation, just to get away and not really have the family time, but just enjoy the moments.
So this is how you take a bad hand
Mhm.
and you turn it into a winning hand.
Yeah, I mean, look at the families. The families are the ones that are dealing with this, right? You have
Yeah.
one person in your family that's disabled because of MS, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's the progressive or whether it's the relapsing,
Mhm.
right? Or the relapsing, right? So all of a sudden now, if you have other kids, if you have a child that has this, and you have other children, the two other children don't get to live the same life that
Yeah.
they would live if their sibling
They,
didn't have MS, because
there's some
it would-
sacrifice.
yeah,
right?
there's sacrifices in the whole family. So
Mhm.
I mean, what Bryan and Amanda are doing are allowing families to come and just and forget, right? They're trying to just be like, just here it is, enjoy, where you can have kids in the swimming and the families together, and it's just somewhat of a small
You
snap.
create some normalcy.
Yeah, a small window of normalcy,
Yeah.
right?
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's just nothing like it. And then you take that and you give it to somebody that doesn't have it, and that it's you can't do anything. You can't replicate that.
No. Well, Bryan, you're the best kind of champion. You're a humble champion. And it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Mhm.
The fact that you would take the time to come out here and come on the Get Shit Done experience and talk with us is nothing short of brilliant. And I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah.
And the fact that you, in some ways, are a brand ambassador for TTSG, GSD Technologies, and 2020 Design in your interaction and friendship with Tim is pretty amazing. And just want to thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be on here, and I'll be on anytime you guys need me on.
All right.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Just I just want to remind you got shit done. Cheers. Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.